Black Panther, Monikers, and Hunt for the Ring. This is Staying In.
Just taking a sip. How are you going to do that throughout without making that sound that you just did?
Well, I imagine that
Yeah.
that listeners would enjoy the sound of me just taking a sip of the water. It's not water.
If that is what's coming out of your taps, you really need to contact the water board.
Okay.
Hang on. Do you really need to drink that close to the mic? Play along at home, listener. What was Sam drinking there?
It's not as pleasant doing it as
Right.
it is listening to it.
I mean, that could be applied to so many things.
Oh, Kris,
Sam,
we're here together.
is it just the two of us? Let me just check. Pete! Dan! It's just the two of us.
It is just the tune
Oh
of
my
us.
gosh. So where are we, Sam? Where are we currently reposing?
We're currently in my living room. There is a roaring fire behind me.
Okay.
I'm currently sitting on a beanbag that my mum made,
Okay.
and you're sitting on a couch that my
Yeah.
mum did not make.
No, she didn't make this.
And we actually just finished playing Hunt for the Ring.
Hunt for the Ring. Now, Sam,
Yes, Kris.
listener, you know how sometimes when you introduce something to someone and inside you're thinking after the end of that experience, you want to ask the question, did you like it? Mm-hmm. But there are certain moments when you think, this isn't the right time to ask that question because I already know the answer to that question. I can feel it in the room, the atmosphere. You don't need to answer it, Sam.
Do I not need to answer?
No, because I already know the answer.
What I thought of Hunt for the Ring.
What you thought of Hunt for the Ring. So this is a board game from Ares Games, who are famous for like War of the Ring, Battle of Five Armies, so Lord of the Rings themed stuff, as well as other stuff which they've done as well. It's about, I've been following this game for well over a year. It was supposed to come out in August, and it being Ares Games, and they're very meticulous about their products. I only got it in January.
Well, Lisa's birthday present was delayed because of this game. Do you think that's
My ordering, nothing to do with Ares themselves. No.
Well, the game was delayed by Ares.
The game was delayed.
It was meant
by
to be
Ares.
out at some point, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and I bought something for Lisa for her birthday. Actually, ended up being closer to her upcoming birthday this
Close
year.
to mine, yeah.
So yes, this is a hidden movement game where basically one player plays the part of Frodo, or in the second part of Gandalf, and basically you've got to secretly make your way to Bree for the first half and then Rivendell for the second half, and the other player are the Nazgul or the Ringwraiths, and they've got to try and find them and pick up their trail, let's say, as in the books. It's illustrated by the paintings of John Howe, Tolkien artist in residence, and I was really hyped up about this game, and I think in some respects some of that hype, plus a theme that I adore, has kind of blindsided me by what apparently, and I say apparently because Sam and I have already talked a bit about this, is quite a kind of excessive amount of game mechanics which can hinder, I suppose. That am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, no. It's a strange game. Like we've talked on the pod before about Whitehall or Whitechapel. Shall I double check?
I don't think it's either of those actually. It's White
Side. White men can't jump.
White.
I mean, I could just go and get it.
Stripes.
White stripes.
White.
Hang on.
It'd be easy to Google it.
No, it's not. It's easier to get it.
What do you mean get it? Why get it? Just read the box.
It's better to get it. Whitehall Mystery.
You couldn't hold that word in your head.
Another murder in the shadow of Jack. So, I think we talked about Whitehall before.
We have, we had a whole podcast about this.
And
with Lisa, actually. Lisa was on for that episode, I think.
And you're coming to mine next weekend along with Kris and Dan.
Pete and Dan. I'm already here.
Pete and Dan, yeah. And this is one game that I'm actually really excited to play with the other guys as well. And I think one of the designers was involved with the making of this, that was also involved with the make of Hunt for the Ring.
Yes, exactly. That's what piqued lots of people's interest, actually, about this title.
So there's a lot of... And I think that in a way hampers it for me as a game, because I'm playing Hunt for the Ring, and thematically, like, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
like,
completely.
You get that feeling of, I'm Frodo in this instance, and I'm being hunted by the Nazgul. I'm trying to get the ring to breathe, and I'm trying to get the ring to Rivendell, with Gandalf helping me in the second part. But as someone who plays a lot of board games, all I'm thinking of is this hidden movement style game has been done a lot more elegantly and dramatically better in Whitehall. For every mechanic in Whitehall, there's about 4 in Hunt for the Ring.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I spent a lot of my turn as Frodo. I plotted my move, I played my card, and then I had to wait for you to work your way through the 5 dice that you'd rolled that determined what you could do on your move.
Which is a very War of the Ring thing.
It's a very War of the Ring thing, I grant you. But I think when it comes to hidden movement, that was just a massive tension breaker for me.
Okay.
Because like you were spending so long trying to decide what you were going to do with your dice, and you can't even really start planning steps ahead because you don't know what dice you're going to roll on your next turn. So that slows down the play even more. And what's beautiful about Whitehall is because you got this one player playing Jack the Ripper, and they've got one objective: just move to 4 locations, commit a murder at each of those 4 locations, you win. All of the other players have only got one objective, which is just to hunt for Jack the Ripper. You've got 2 mechanics: you move, you search, or you move, or you arrest.
So this is back when there were only 4 police officers in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's so beautiful about a hidden movement game when the mechanics are stripped back is that it allows that tension, that drama to grow in between the seams.
Completely.
Whereas in Hunt for the Ring, there's so much mechanics going on that I was so focused on, am I doing the right thing? You've got 3 different ways of searching in this game.
Yeah, completely.
Which to me is just absolutely ridiculous in terms of killing all the tension that's meant to be in the situation. Now, thematically, the game is beautiful, and if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings and indeed the gameplay series, I think this sits really well in the trilogy. But for me, as a standalone game, it just doesn't work. There's parts of the game where I knew that I was safe.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be hurt because basically this game is just setting up stuff for the next game in the series, which you've already got.
Yeah.
Like there was no lose state for me, really.
Oh, there was. I mean, like, so the way it works is, for those who aren't familiar with the books of Lord of the Rings, as soon as Frodo slips on this ring, he becomes corrupted by it, essentially. The whole premise is of this, one of the most innocent people in this world being given the most powerful weapon in the world, and to what extent he can withhold that corruption. So there is some kind of stakes there. I think my problem is, I'm too in this. I'm infatuated by this game.
Are.
I mean, like, I am infatuated by it. I'm infatuated by the War of the Ring. Like, I think to some extent this has happened a bit with the most recent Star Wars film. Like, I have this image of it in my head, and that I think is what's going to keep me coming back to playing this game. This kind of the theme of it I enjoy. Like Whitechapel, mechanically, it is a much more streamlined and focused game. Mm-hmm. It's a game that will reach more people.
Yeah,
I can count on one hand the people that I know who will play Hunt for the Ring with me, but there's almost an infinite amount of people that play White. To keep looking at the name, Whitechapel with me. But I would argue I do not like the theme of Whitechapel.
Do you not?
Not at all. No. I don't like that at all. But I love the theme of Hunt for the Ring. And I was saying to you earlier, I would not buy Hunt for the Ring if it was any other theme, because there are much more interesting hidden movement games. We talked about Osprey's fantastic Escape from the Aliens of Outer Space, which I think is a fantastic hidden movement game.
And for me, another example of when the mechanics of that game are kept really simple. The aliens move 2 spaces, humans can move 1.
It's a brilliant game.
Brilliant mechanic. And then there's slight things, there's slight variations that you can play off that, which I kind of feel again loses that tension. For me, a hidden movement game grows from the cracks left in between, and the more mechanics you shove in between those cracks to try and make it more of a game in inverted commas around it, then that where it suffers. Which is, for me, is why White Apple.
Do you know what? When we talked about this game last time, we actually had to Google the bloody name. 'Cause
Yeah,
I just can't remember the name of
because
it.
the problem is because it's a variant of Letters from Whitechapel.
Yeah.
It's a variant of that, and it's called Whitehall, and it's very much is a stripped down version for me, and that's where the beauty lies in it. It's the fact that for me, the beauty of hidden movement isn't just that element of tension, it isn't just that sort of perfect balance of mechanics. Is where are those pegs of storytelling coming from? Because at the end of a hidden movement game, we should have finished Hunt for the Ring, and our conversation shouldn't have been, oh, that mechanic was a little bit sloppy, or, if only I forgot to do that bit at that point. It should have been, oh, I was there and you were only one step behind me, but then I went down this path and I went down here, and then you went over there, and then, oh, that bit where you almost caught me, like that should be our conversation at the end of every hidden movement game, is those narrow escapes, or those victories, or those defeats, and how they came about. Like, for me, if you're gonna, and that's why hidden movement games are one of the most delicate board games. If you're going to make one, they're one of the most dangerous to make, because for me, their success or failure is judged on what happens after it. Like, it's very symptomatic. If you're not having that conversation after a hidden movement game, then for me, that game fails on some sort of mechanical level.
And I think as well, the fact that it's tied into the Lord of the Rings, I think deep down unconsciously for you, is the fact that you always knew you were going to win, because that's what happens in the books.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would argue in War of the Ring, I think what War of the Ring does so well in Battle of Five Armies is that it really explores the what-if scenarios, and it allows you to play those out more. Whereas this, literally the board is you're literally a bottleneck, the whole board is. Mm-hmm. And it means that suddenly that sandbox feeling you get with the other two titles, it feels less and less like that. It feels like a much more, and particularly in the second part, it is a directed game. Because in the second part, Frodo's movements are programmed.
Yeah.
And you play as Gandalf, providing kind of distractions, and basically for the Nazgul players, which I do like as a concept. I think also the fact that this is the first time I played it all the way through.
Yeah.
The game is actually split into two parts, and there's like a lovely little gesture to the novels where you've kind of got this envelope.
Oh, you're so in love with this thing.
I am.
Beautiful.
Well, I mean, I pre-ordered this bloody game. To be honest, like, I don't think deep down I can't accept the fact that I don't think that it holds up mechanically, and I will play this quite rarely. But I think because I'm so in love with the idea of the game, I think I'm still in that honeymoon period with this. I haven't played it enough to kind of really start to criticise it, because I'm still having to keep looking at the rule book, and I don't feel I can kind of judge it on its merits yet, because as you said, there was stuff in the rules that we kind of forgot or missed out, and that would have affected gameplay. I think, like with War of the Ring, when we played that, we each watched like an hour-long playthrough to prep ourselves for that. But
that's worth it, though. That War of the Ring is on the scale of any grand and epic war game. I mean, we played that for about 6 hours.
Yeah. I mean, we walked the dog twice during that process. The dog was looking at us, plaiting its legs, wanting to be let out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed War of the Ring, and to be honest, if Hunt for the Ring has taught me one thing, is actually I'd really love to have that, like an afternoon, a day with you with War of the Ring again, because what I love about War of the Ring is, I think part of it is the fact that there's a symmetry in the gameplay. We're almost playing the same game mechanically, but we have different goals and different things to work to. So it's a lot more collaborative in that respect. And do you think one day in uni I once watched all 3 of the extended cuts?
I've done that
of Lord of the Rings back to back.
Yeah, it's about 11 hours, isn't it?
Yeah. So do you think that one day we'll have a weekend where we play Hunt for the Ring Parts 1, Parts 2, Battle of the Five Armies, and then War of the Ring? We
started Battle of the Five Armies.
Oh, you started Battle of the Five Armies? Sorry.
No, don't apologise.
And then we play Hunt for the Ring, and then we play War of the Ring.
I think that would be the ultimate test for our friendship. I mean, come on. I mean, the fact that the company elected to say, look, okay, we've created basically a 3-hour hidden movement game. We've got to put a break in there somewhere. I've never seen that for a board game before. Can you think of any way the game's split into 2 and it's actually designed for you to take a break and say, look, if you want, you can just play half the game and save it in this envelope, But if you want to, you can carry on like we did today, play it in free.
No, I've never encountered a save state within a board game before.
I kind of don't like. To be honest, I'm thinking if we'd saved it, I think weeks would pass before we carry on with part 2, and we wouldn't be that into it anymore. Personally,
do you know what I would love? And this is getting really geeky and granular about Hunt for the. Indeed, the whole Ring series.
Yeah.
Just with Whitehall, I'd love Fantasy Flight to get hold of it. I'd love them to just take it and develop it and just give it a bit of that sheen and polish that it deserves, because they've got a track record of.
But I would chuck in the mix Fury of Dracula. You're talking about mechanics and long-winded hidden movements. Fury of Dracula, seems to be a lot of that.
And Letters from Whitechapel.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of that. So I don't know.
And I think Hunt for the Ring has kind of put me off. I've been sort of thinking about Fury Dracula and Letters from Whitechapel for a long time, and I think playing Hunt for the Ring has put me off a little bit, because it has made me realise that what I actually enjoy about hidden movement games is the drama, the tension, and I think personally the more mechanics that you put into that are just going to get in the way of anything that's created. And I just think the sooner you get to that conversation at the end of the game, the better.
Well, let's say that next time we play it, we'll actually implement our own house rules.
Yeah, we'll figure some out.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone's already doing this on Board Game Geek.
There'll be someone. Frodo takes a beer in the prancing pony and gets drunk, and
it kind of needs the opposite of an expansion. They'll just release an empty box for you to take pieces out and keep it and put it elsewhere.
It needs a compression.
That's it.
That's what it needs.
So that it needs a compression. Yeah, I like that. No, we'll do that. I think so, definitely. I'm glad I own it. I do not regret purchasing it at all, because it is. I mean, it's a beautiful production. It is gorgeous. Nice, yeah. It is gorgeous on the table, definitely. Can you imagine if Poppy's voice was like 2 octaves lower?
But
like a little modulator. Can you not get it? I mean, it's unethical, I know, but if she smoked a few cigars.
Just as a vivisection.
So, Sam, my parents went to Copenhagen.
Copenhagen.
And
in Denmark?
Yes, indeed, in Denmark, yeah.
Good. I'm glad I got that right.
Yeah, good. Didn't have to go and run and grab the box.
Hang on.
You didn't have to go and grab Ticket to Ride and just... So they went to Copenhagen, and I got a message from them it was on the WhatsApp group. We have a family group, and they'd gone into this kind of like... almost like... from what the impression I got, it was like some kind of alternative shop. A shop that sells alternative goods, that kind of thing.
What do you mean by alternative?
Well, this is what I'm trying to get. So basically... It smelt of a particular drug, and my mum didn't know what that was. And
okay,
my dad had
brilliant.
To explain
Okay, I was thinking like a tattoo parlor.
No. Yeah, she came out with looking like an old school desk. And she said, "Oh, I don't know what this smell is." And she bumped into this kind of tourist from Ireland, this lovely lady there, and they saw on this table,
You know, there's only one way I want this story to end.
Yeah, I know. So did I when I was scrolling through the WhatsApp group. But she saw this paper and it had like these creases in it, and I thought, ooh, like origami. And her and this kind of Irish tourist, this lady there from Ireland, was there. And they thought, oh, same thing. And they started rolling it up. And my dad turned round, and my mum rolled a spliff. In complete ignorance, with nothing in it, obviously, but she just rolled this kind of shit, just not knowing what she was building. I love that as an idea, just
rolling a joint.
Yeah,
nothing in it, a blunt ready to go.
It's a bit like the whole expansion. What was it? Compression? Did you say?
Yeah, compression of an idea. I love that whole innocence.
Blissfully innocent.
When we went away at the end of last year for my mum's 60th birthday, we went to. It was me and Lisa, my brother and his partner, and my mum and her partner, and we all went away to this. We rented this house for the weekend, and it's really nice. And I'm always really hesitant when we go away.
Yeah.
And this is connected to...
But why is that? Why are you hesitant?
Because when I go away, I know that when I'm with you and Pete and Dan and everyone else, that we know we spend our time, we play games in the evening. That's how we socialise now, really.
Yeah.
Like, we don't just... You haven't just come round tonight and just sat around, had a drink, and we just chatted. We played a game, and we socialise over that. So when I go away, it's like, I know how much fun we can have playing games, but sometimes I feel like it's really tricky, like introducing games to people. And
so this is public information, because I imagine there'll be listeners in the same boat.
Yeah,
completely.
And this refers to your whole thing about innocence.
Okay.
I will come back round to that.
Okay, we'll stick a pin in that.
It's going to stick a pin in that. So usually when we went away, I took about 2 big, like, bag for life carriers of board games.
Okay.
With me. Do you want me to go and get them?
No.
Okay. Because I've never played a board game with my mum or a partner. I've never played a board game with my brother.
Well, not even Monopoly, anything
No,
like that?
No, nothing like that. I think I played... I remember that me and my brother had a copy of Mousetrap that we played.
I think everyone did.
Yeah. But in terms of anything I play now, like, we've never played anything. So it's really difficult to think, what are they going to enjoy? What's going to be difficult? What is really going to land with them? So we were away. We got to the first evening, and Lisa was brilliant. She was like, let's play a game. And possibly the standout game that we played was Monikers.
Okay, Monikers.
Yeah. Got it.
Seamless.
See, this is what's handy about recording at my house, is I can just go and get the actual game.
Yeah.
So Monikers comes from a traditional sort of party game.
Yep.
Where people would put lots of different things inside a hat, like names of celebrities, a certain place in the world, a film, a single, and put all that into the hat, and then everyone plays from the same communal pool, and in the first round they can say anything they want to describe what they've picked out. On the second round, using the same communal pool, you can only say one word to describe what it is that you've picked out, and again, using the same communal pool, you can't say anything at all. You can't say anything at all on the final round. So Monikers is this beautiful thing of wonder, this big blue box that this company kickstarted, Palm Court and Buffalo Games and Puzzles, put together. And basically, it's a curated box of cards of different things and celebrities and situations and turns of phrases that have been put together inside this box. So you know that feeling when you're playing charades and you've got to think of something, a book or a TV show, that sort of panic and that anxiety that you have of, I've got to think of something clever, or
Tron.
Is that your go-to charade?
That's my go-to one, Tron.
This Monikers box takes all that from you, and also what it does is that it attributes each card a point value based on what, how relevant or how sort of common that thing will be. And so we got out Monikers, and the first thing that the Monikers game actually does, which is really wonderful, is everyone gets a hand of 10 cards, and they have time to look through that, and everyone puts 5 of those cards into the main common pool of the deck. So it has this sort of self-regulatory way of ensuring that what goes into the common pool of deck, people are familiar with, and so you kind of pick cards. So what's really good is when you're introducing this game to people like my mum, who I don't really play games with, is that I'm able to pick stuff that I know my mum will know that. I know that my mum will know who this person is, or what this film is, or what this situation is. And sometimes I can go, I know my mum won't know that, but it's going to be really funny getting her to explain or try and describe exactly what this thing is. So that's why sort of a ground level Monikers was a really good game to introduce to my mum at this point. And I tell you what, it was one of the most hilarious games that I've ever played. To give you two examples, my mum had the card Dracula.
Yeah.
And so she was on the first round, she picked up the card. So she could say anything she wanted except for the name on the card. And she went, not the guy with the bolts in his neck, the other one.
Right. Because there was only two, famously, wasn't there?
There was only two master villains of
Hammer Horror.
Of Hammer Horror. But the team member that was on her team got it, Dracula. But the other thing that's wonderful about Monikers, because you're always using the same pool of cards from one round to another, the group of players develop a vocabulary around those cards and around what's being said, linking one thing to another. So when it came to the second round and someone on the team could only say one word to describe what was on the card, when they drew Dracula, instead of saying like teeth or blood or bat, they just went bolts. And they went, yep.
This is how Cockney rhyming slang
Dracula
was invented.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what's wonderful about it. It's the term of the game. It's Monikers. It's a word which is a reference to something else. And then when it came to the round where you could only mime something, people just did bolts on their necks rather than an actual Dracula move, because that was in our turn in that game. That was a quicker way of getting to the point. And again, what we were talking about with Hunt of the Ring is that when the game ends, that's a talking point that we could talk about. Like, I was able to laugh with my mum about the fact that, what do you mean, not the guy with the bolts and the other guy, and then how that developed into this whole language that we developed with each other. And then going back to what you're saying about your mum rolling
a spliff,
rolling a spliff and not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
So one of the cards that we had in our pool was Booty Call.
Right.
So I'm sure you're aware of a Booty Call and what a Booty Call is, Kris.
Indeed.
We also had another card in our deck, which was Eating a Baguette.
Okay.
So we get to the mime stage.
Oh my gosh. And it's either or.
And whereas your mum, in innocence, is rolling a spliff and not knowing it.
Yeah.
With my mum, it was the shattering of the illusion of innocence, where Lisa was miming the process of eating a baguette, and my mum, without a flick of hesitation, went, Booty Call.
Amazing.
But I think that's the beauty of Monikers, and I think that even though it's a game that you can essentially make yourself, and I think there's loads of games. Skull and Roses is one.
Telestrations.
I
played that the other night, actually.
I made you a copy of Skull and Roses for your birthday.
Indeed, yeah.
Called,
Boots and Bangers.
Boots and Bangers. I think the beauty of this blue box of Monikers is that the effort that's gone into the curation of the cards and the themes that they've picked and the elements that they've picked out of films and TV and popular culture are so perfectly rendered to especially our sense of humour and how we love to interact and get in the best of situations. I think it's a must-have. Like if we're sort of like, I don't know I feel like we've just done like 2 reviews back to back on this show, but I feel like it really is like a must-have to have. Like
must-have to have.
We've had so much fun with this little group.
He's caressing the box as we speak, listener. So you're saying, for example, like my in-laws, they don't really play a lot of board games. Would this be a good gateway game for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it all comes down to how the game is put together. So the people that you're playing with have a direct input into what cards go into the pool. They have a vested interest into what's going in. And because you're split up into teams, the other people on your team pick cards to help people that are on your team. That creates a really solid grounding for everyone to go into. And then the mechanics that you play off then are really simple. You know, there are elements of charades and other games like Taboo and, you know, things like that people who played more probably sort of mainstream games are very familiar with, but all packaged up into this box. And in terms of like introducing people into party games and things like that, it's one of the must-haves. But even though it's great, I tell you, the one game that surprised me most over the recent months in terms of introducing people into, in terms of introducing to people who I don't usually play games with, has been Dixit.
Yeah, I played that again the other night.
I'm constantly surprised by that game, because we took it away for us from my mum's 60th. Took it away for us for Christmas as well, and playing it with folks who don't really play that many board games, and you like pick it up and you go, right, and you explain it for the first time where this is a narrative storytelling game, and I'm going to give you a phrase, and then you're going to pick a card that relates to that phrase, and then it's got this really overly complicated scoring system, and you think, this is never going to work, but there's just, I don't know what it is, like there's some hidden beauty or mystique, witchcraft about that game where it just...
Because the cards themselves are these beautiful little kind of works of art, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're these kind of trippy, kind of surrealist, abstract, kind of utterly ambiguous kind of images that are kind of incredibly symbolic, rife with symbolism, and you may not know what that symbolism is. And yes, so you pick a subject, so it might be a lyric from a song, say, for example. You secretly place that card face down, and other people look in their hands to find a card that they feel matches that motif. Yeah. They put it face card down, they shuffle it up, you deal it out, and everyone has to vote on which card they think was your card. And it might be that somebody else has picked a card that is more appropriate for the theme that you selected. And if nobody guesses your card, you don't get any points. If everybody guesses your card, if you're too obvious, you don't get any points. You have to try and read the room and give a clue that some of the people in the room will guess and understand and others won't. And what's great is that if you've got a crap set of cards, you can just use those cards up. Yeah. So it's always changing, it's always updating. Conversations are happening, and somebody will say something like, I still recall our last summer. Put it face down. You're like, what? They listen to ABBA. Okay, right. And you flip over the cards. And you look at them, and they're all like deaf, doom, and gloom. Like, bloody hell! Somebody had a really crap summer. and it says a lot about a person, you know, in terms of the symbolism of rife there. And what happens is then that some people will try and play to in jokes they have of another member of the team.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I played it the other day with two people. You know. One was my partner and her flatmate, and they were both kind of raised in Greece. So there were kind of certain turns of phrase or certain expressions in Greek.
Oh, the olives are wonderful this year.
Look at that for feta. None of that, but like...
I've never felt feta.
Yeah. And so there were kind of certain things there that were very interesting kind of to develop in terms of... her partner's... her housemate's partner is English, so the two of us could use certain phrases. Say, for example,
did they enjoy it?
I loved it.
Did they? And that's what I mean. Like,
loved it. It crosses languages because it's not engaging with text at all.
Out of all the party games that I've played recently, like Dixit is just incomparable. How the initial judgment of it, and as someone who plays a lot of board games, I feel like I'm being kind of unfair, and I feel like I'm sort of playing down other people's intelligence. Like I'm just scared to introduce it to people. Like I feel like
because it seems quite infantilizing.
Well, no, not infantilizing. I just feel like the initial the whole concept of it is so abstract. Like there's not much to grab onto in terms of mechanics and structure. Like Monikers has got it there. Like, you know, you're playing with cards that say Frankenstein and Booty Call and, you know, whatever on it. There's something real to grab onto. But Dixit, Dixit, the whole game is kind of like you present it to people and you go, right, the whole game exists in your head, pretty much. Everything that's going to happen here is created by the conversations that we have and the cards that we put down. There's no dice to roll. There's no board here. There's no money to exchange. Dixit, the whole game exists in your head, and I think that as gamers especially, I think we undervalue or misinterpret how the capacity that everyone has for that type of game.
Yeah.
That type of feeling of play and socialising. And I think Dixit is the perfect game that crosses all those barriers and enables and brings that out of everyone. It is just a joyous experience, and it somehow manages to bring that out of everyone. It's beautiful.
And that's a kind of ironic thing because, like, even though it's a slightly more complicated rule, much more in terms of its rules version of Dixit, Mysterium is actually an easier sell for people who like the familiarity of having a board, having an agenda. It looks very familiar to them. It's oh, this is like Cluedo. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can relate it to Cluedo, which makes sense.
But even though it's basically Dixit with added on kind of rules, in the same way that Hunt for the Ring is like Whitehall. Sorry, I have to look at the box again. I keep forgetting the name.
Do you want me to hold it in front of
you could, that'd be wonderful.
There you go, I'll hold it.
You know when we did like Thor Ragnarok and I pointed at you and you said, yeah. But it's a bit like that. So even that, it's a bit like Hunt for the Ring and Whitehall, the idea that, you know, that's what Dixit is to Mysterium, say, for example.
Yeah.
And it's ironic then that people find something as abstract and open and ambiguous as Dixit quite a hard sell and hard to kind of understand or comprehend initially, say, as opposed to something like Mysterium, which is grounded in a kind of a familiar kind of genre, say, or series of tropes. Sam, I've got a confession.
What? Okay. Do you want me to turn off?
No. It's all right. It's all right.
Hang on, Kris. Right, I'll just turn us down. Right. Okay.
Turn what then?
Do you want? Like, I've turned off the recording.
Okay.
I've turned it down.
This is like Watergate, isn't it?
Yeah. What have you got to say? No one is listening at this point.
No, it's just you and I.
Yeah.
That's it. You know how, like, you were a bit miffed, weren't you, when I went to see Thor Ragnarok? And you weren't there, even though I was going on a date with my significant other.
Yeah, but you didn't
and
invite me.
we're not at that stage in the relationship yet where I can bring along a mate to our date.
Not?
No,
You've been
not
going
yet.
out for ages.
I know.
What do you mean you're not at that stage?
I know. When is that stage? When does that happen? I don't know.
When you lose all physical intimacy.
Okay. Okay, well, I will let you know and the listeners.
Or being next to your partner is so abhorrent that you need someone to
Have you sat between us with a popcorn on your head?
At that point, you can invite me to see Marvel films with you.
So I work for a theatre company, and they're based in the Midlands, and they do some work up in Liverpool where I live occasionally. And when they're in town, we hang out and we kind of have meetings and stuff.
Okay.
And I got asked the question, and I was in a crisis of conscience. They said, "Do you want to go and see Black Panther?"
Oh, Kris.
I know. And I was like...
It would be great for our SEO if you have seen Black Panther.
I have seen Black Panther.
Have you?
I have seen it.
You told me earlier that you haven't seen it.
No, I didn't say I hadn't seen it. I said, Sam, do you want to see it? Because I was hoping you would say, actually, Kris, I've already seen it.
Well, no, because I'd wait for you to go and see it.
Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, gee.
Lisa doesn't want to go and see Black
Why
Panther.
does she want to go and see that?
Because it's not her bag.
It's not dark enough for her. But it was at the end, like, we'd just done this meeting and they said, do you want to go and see it? I was like, oh, we're together and stuff. And they'd already actually bought me the ticket. Premier seat, Sam. I've never sat in a Premier... I sat in a Premier seat. Do you know what a Premier seat's like?
Yeah, I sit in them all the time.
Do you?
Well, yeah, because you buy the normal seats and then...
No, don't they check if you're...
No, of course they don't check.
They used to check. I remember that being the case. There'd always be someone coming in with a torch and just checking.
Of course I don't check. I just go and sit in the... I'll wait until the film starts. If no one sits in the premieres, I just slip myself into one of those.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. This is your great cinema scam.
along with my children's box of popcorn.
You're like Paul Newman. In The Sting. So I've seen Black Panther.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
This is a very hyped film, just saying. Very hyped film.
What do you mean? So you didn't enjoy it?
No, I loved it.
Okay.
And it was one of those moments where it lived up to the hype. It's a very, very important film, obviously. That's been well publicised. I think you have to be living in a cave to not know the kind of shockwaves that this film has sent throughout Hollywood. Irrespective of whether you've watched any Marvel film before, I think you can watch this standalone. You could watch this standalone. You could watch this and not watch any other Marvel film and not care about the Marvel universe. That's absolutely fine.
So my worry about Black Panther is the fact that we're at a point now in the Marvel sort of pantheon where there's a certain band of characters who are part of the Avengers who are well established and well known, and we all get along with them. They're all absolutely fine. And then slowly over the time they've introduced more, being Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, and those two films have, for me, even though they've been great films, have definitely felt like, okay, these are sort of little vignettes in a part of the story, just let you know who this person is, a bit of their origin. So when they pop up in the next big group and family film, you know where they come from. They make a bit more narrative sense, and this is their place within the world. So I've never felt that I've never felt that, let's say, the origin stories post Avengers Age of Ultron and even Avengers have been that great. So therefore that's why I've been a bit worried about Black Panther being another one of those origin stories and another one of those kind of like, yeah, we're just doing a film just to fill in a bit of the backstory about who this guy is from Wakanda.
And I think that's a valid criticism, because it's actually known as the Marvel formula, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can kind of see these beats coming. We can read it very quickly. We know when it's happening, even from just the trailers. This isn't that at all, because the origin kind of happens in Captain America Civil War. And it's not like this film goes back to his kind of roots. There's a little bit of flashbacking, but they skip over the origin completely.
Okay.
And it's more about this line in the film that it's very hard to be a good man and be a king, essentially. And it's about this titular character, the Black Panther, part of this long lineage of Black Panthers who are this kind of leader of this kind of this country called Wakanda, which
is like a hidden state, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this kind of like lost, this paradise. It remains concealed and hidden within Africa, where essentially this millennia ago a vibranium-laden meteorite, and vibranium is the big MacGuffin of the film, and one of the MacGuffins of the Marvel Universe is what Captain America's shield's made out of, crashes in this part of Africa, and given its incredible properties, magical properties, this entire race and culture of people grew in secret around that, protecting what they saw as this incredibly prized and valuable object. But it's like a Bond film, because obviously people come in and nick this vibranium, and they have to try and secretly go out there and try and stop it from becoming misused, say. And actually, the Black Panther is probably one of the oldest Marvel heroes, essentially, because it's part of a long-standing lineage that predates Captain America, and you really get that sense of it. But you also get a real keen justification as to why you've never really heard of it prior till now. It's cropped up in previous films. I think there was a nod to Wakanda in Age of Ultron. It comes up, and obviously in Captain America Civil War you meet T'Challa and his father. But this is set a week after the fallout of Captain America Civil War, and him coming to terms with that. But it's just an extraordinary film. Mark Como put it really succinctly in his review. He said, when you get to the third act, you know who everyone is, you know why they're fighting, what their agenda is, and it's great. It's this master storytelling. Honestly, it is. I came out with the two colleagues, and I've never spoken that much in depth about a Marvel film in my life. Not just wasn't that awesome, but just the ideas it raises around kind of post-colonialism, race, equality, feminism. But this isn't kind of a tick box for kind of a Mary Jane. What's it called? Mary Sue kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's not that at all.
No.
That's kind of incidental, really. But you feel this kind of hammer blow, and it's about the quality of the performances. You have here a villain who you can't help but want to root for as well. You can really see why it is what they do, what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And to a similar extent, what you kind of got a bit of with Baron Zemo in Civil War. And what I love about Captain America Civil War is it doesn't end with a kind of a myriad of explosions. It ends with a fist fight and this kind of broken individual who has been hideously kind of had several injustices befall them, and it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances that have created them. And it's positively Shakespearean in that similar vein, Black Panther. And the guy I went with, he said it's just almost like the kind of the tensions and discussions that one could imagine happening between like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. in terms of their various different responses honestly, and the problem is that when you're talking about this film, and I really enjoyed this film, that I'm just fueling this hype, and what I don't want to happen is that me talking about it will be a tremendous letdown for people going to cinema, because I recommended this the other day to two people, my partner's housemates, and they left about half an hour before the end. They just didn't get it at all. Didn't take to it at all. Didn't take to it. And I was like, but all that kind of stuff, yeah, but if you want to view it at that level. But for me, no, it wasn't that. And it is a long film, but it didn't feel long. Like, I found Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 long.
Yeah.
This one, and the world, it just creates Ryan Coogler does an incredible job of creating this world, and I really care about these characters. I feel like they've always been. Like, I'm really keen and happy I cannot wait to see them, and we're going to see them soon in the next Avengers film, as the trailer has elucidated. But honestly, it's funny, it's just really progressive, it's a love letter to Africana, a culture, a race, an ethnicity, a group of people that I'm not a part of, but are just basking in this incredible, rich celebration of this culture. Sensitively done, and it's just this wonderful kind of rich experience for me, really.
It's kind of it is a relief to hear, because obviously this film's too late in the making, but at least when they've actually done it, it's been done right.
Yeah,
I think that it's kind of a testament to Marvel that they've kind of put the right people behind it and allowed them to do the things that they want to do, and I think that, sort of going back to Marvel, the one thing that they've done recently that maybe DC haven't done as much is been prepared to break their own formula. I think they've looked back on Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, as I was alluding to before, and gone, there is a different way that we can do these things. With Thor Ragnarok being the first, again, I didn't see it because I wasn't invited, being, the first Marvel comedy, a genre breaker within the genre. And then this film seemingly to be a film that is able to stand head and shoulders above other films within the genre, not just because of where it stands within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but also where it stands, holding up a mirror against society. Is there's kind of like, I feel that they're taking on board some of the beautiful aspects of actual comic book writing and what a comic book is. For me, one of the lovely things about getting comics every month or twice a week, or invariably as I do, is the fact that their whole production process is geared so that they can immediately reflect things that are going on in society, and they can immediately comment on things that are happening. Like, I've been reading Ed Brubaker's and Sean Phillips's Kill or Be Killed, and in there it references things to do with Trump's America and things to do with vigilantism and sort of social ideas of being oppressed and mental health and things that are definitely within our social consciousness at the moment. And comics are in this wonderful space where, because their production process, the writing is done very sort of quick and reactive, and then the art is done very soon after that. So there's a very sort of short turnaround with when things get produced and when things are written. And that's why I love them so much, because they feel like they're very much a product of their time and when they're created, and maybe the MCU's picking up a little bit of that and going, actually, let's not think of making films from a film point of view, but let's think of making films from a comic book point of view, which is kind of where kind of something that they lost with Doctor Strange and, you know, moving from Ant-Man into Doctor Strange.
I mean, there are some kind of the familiar kind of formula beats in Black Panther. Like, there's that kind of Chekhov's gun thing in places where, you know, you'll see a reference made to something at the beginning and you know it's going to crop up at the end. You can see where it's going in this film. You can see it. But in terms of how it gets there, I find very interesting, and the choices it makes on that journey. I don't mind the Marvel formula. It's just in terms of the way in which that formula is kind of... There's something quite pleasing and satisfying. In fact, they've done studies, haven't they? It seems counterintuitive, but... unconsciously, we as human beings, it's the spoiler paradox. We like stuff to be spoiled for us, even though consciously I can say to you, no, I don't want to watch the trailers, I don't want to see. But actually, there's deep down, we like that satisfying of something kind of every note hitting where it shouldn't hit, if you see what I mean. And Black Panther does that, but how it does that, the way it plays those notes, is incredibly rich and just leaps ahead of something, as you say, what Doctor Strange was doing. I enjoyed Doctor Strange very much.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah,
but this is something else. I've never kind of thought this much over a Marvel film. It's really lingered with me. It's just extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And this is Ryan Coogler's, I think, third film. He's a young director. He did Fruitvale Station. He did Creed.
I really enjoyed Creed. Have you seen it?
No, I've not. I never watched any of the Rockies. It just didn't seem very interesting.
On a plane to New York, I watched Creed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's very good.
So yeah, I mean, he's gone from this to this, so I cannot wait. I mean, I don't know when they're going to do the second one. They're going to do a second one. They have to, but I don't know when. What in Kevin Feige's master plan, where this will fall in to the next phase.
I don't know whether in the plans they did ever plan to have a sequel, whether this was just always going to be an origin story, and maybe it has morphed and developed into what it's become along the way, so maybe it will change some of their plans
well, I mean, Wakanda seems to be playing a big part in first Infinity War film, so maybe there was a kind of a hint towards that. And obviously, spoilers for at the end of Civil War, Bucky is sent to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Bucky Barnes for kind of rehabilitation. So we'll see in terms of how that plays out there. But no, you should really go and see it. I'll happily go and see it again. So we should go and see it.
Good. Well, I was going to ask you whether you wanted to go and see it today, but I'm glad I didn't now, because then you would have...
No, I can go see it. Honestly, I will want to see this again and again, generally.
Good. We can play around the Monikers if you want.
We could do, because you're nursing this box.
I've got the box next to me, and we could just. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to pick?
Yeah. So this is TM Palm Court TM Buffalo Game Puzzles.
Yeah. This has nothing to do.
This is just a flavour of what's the card.
Should we see how many points you can do in a minute or something?
Okay, let's do this.
And then we'll see how many points I can do in a minute.
Oh my word! Okay, cool.
And then. When we go and see Black Panther,
okay,
whoever wins,
buys
the other person the popcorn and the snacks and the treats.
It's Sam Turner's famous cinema grift.
Up to the value of £5.
£5.
£5. Have you got a timer?
I have indeed. How long do I time for?
Just for a minute.
Okay.
And we'll see how many you get through. So we'll just do the first round, so I can say whatever I want, but I'm just not allowed to say the word on the card.
Okay, here we go. So play along at home, listener.
Are you ready?
Okay, I'm starting the timer now.
Okay, mythical creature lives in a Scottish a lake that used to be a glacier.
Loch Ness Monster.
Correct. A bit of a cow that's on its flank.
Udder.
Well, no, that's underneath it, but... This guy appeared in a film with Robert Downey Jr. and that other guy from Brokeback Mountain, and it's a really good film based on Sagittarius and Taurus.
The Zodiac Killer.
Yeah, correct. Something you use to break into...
Song.
No. Okay, something that's depicted the world on. And in Greek mythology, he carried...
Atlas.
Yeah, correct. No idea who that person is. Something you do to mean that you may have less. Oh no! Well, I'll explain what that is afterwards. A dance that you do where you put your two hands out in front of you, palms face down, then you put your palms face up.
Macarena.
Yeah, correct.
And we're out of time.
Okay. The one that I was really struggling with was pooping before you weigh yourself.
Okay, cool.
Which I didn't really know how to describe. Let me see how many points you got. 3, 5, 9, 10, 11. 11 points, Kris.
Okay. Wow, 11 shiny points.
So this for
okay.
a kid's popcorn.
So I've got my own pile now. I'm going to go for those.
Have you got your timer?
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go. Somebody who just keeps lots of stuff, buys lots of stuff, and doesn't get rid of everything. Yep. This is a black and white creature that likes a syrupy thing that Winnie the Pooh goes after.
Oh, not a badger. A panda.
No.
What was it? Oh, okay.
Okay, a person who goes into space.
An astronaut.
They are moving the car with the wheel in their hand and the accelerator and the petrol.
An astronaut driver.
They're moving.
Astronaut pilot. Astronaut pass.
Oh my gosh, that is just ridiculous. Don't know who that is. Hair on the chin.
Goatee. Beard.
Yes.
There's hairs everywhere on a beard.
H.G. Wells' novel, Person Who Cannot Be Seen.
War of the Worlds. What?
Person Who Cannot Be Seen.
Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Time's up.
I know. Oh, jeez.
Oh, Kris.
It was that one. Like,
I mean, I should.
You didn't get Honey Badger.
Well, yeah, okay.
A black and white creature that likes the Anita Hill. I don't know who that is. The astronaut who drove across the country wearing space diapers to kidnap her boyfriend. I mean, that's only 4. That's 4 points. So that was ambitious. So you got a total 5 points.
5 points. So do I blame your description?
So I was just wondering how you do the points, because you gave me the points, even though it was your skill in giving me the questions, wasn't it? The clues, sorry, I should say.
Yeah, well, I'll take that. I'll be nice. I'll buy you some popcorn.
Thank you.
That was Staying In with myself, Sam Turner, and Dr. Kris Darby. If you've enjoyed this episode, then make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Mixcloud, Acast, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you prefer to get your podcast from. And if you'd like to leave us a review too, then we'd be really grateful. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to all the things we covered in this episode, and come and find us on Twitter on @StayingInPod. But until next time, thanks for listening.